All right, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a pretty fascinating reality. Saying you know how to use AI in 2026? Well, that's going to be exactly like saying you know how to use Microsoft Word today. I mean, it sounds good, sure, but companies are just going to expect it. It's literally the baseline. So, what actually puts you ahead of the curve? Today, we're breaking down the 5 absolutely essential skills that will take you from a casual, everyday user into a total powerhouse.
Now, what's really interesting about this question is the trap that it reveals. Think about it. Right now, everybody has access to the exact same tools, yet most people are stuck doing the exact same things, and then they wonder why they aren't seeing this massive competitive advantage. You know the drill. They type a few things in, get a slightly better draft of whatever they're working on, and then they just stop. But if everybody is doing that, the advantage totally disappears. So the crucial takeaway here is that thriving in this new landscape, it's not about learning some secret, magical prompt. It's just not. It's about building a foundational system around the way you work. You really have to develop those uniquely human skills that technology simply cannot easily replace. We have to completely shift our focus from the tool itself to the thinking behind the tool.
Okay, let's look at our agenda for today's evolution. We are tackling 5 specific skills: defining the problem first, testing decisions before you commit, building repeatable systems, stacking your AI tools, and finally, maintaining human control. Let's jump right in.
Starting at Level 1. Skill 1, define the problem first and shift from prompts to thinking.
So the absolute most overlooked skill in the entire AI world isn't prompting. It's how clearly you define your situation before your fingers ever even touch the keyboard. The old way of doing things, which is how, honestly, 99% of people operate, is rewriting the same vague request over and over, like asking an AI to improve business performance, and then just tweaking the tone when the answer comes back super generic. But the new way, the top 1% way, it's about improving your structured thinking. Because improving performance could mean what? Cutting costs, raising prices, launching a new product? If your goal is undefined, the AI's advice is always going to be way too broad to actually use.
Look at these constraints for a second. When you define these highly specific elements, like the exact type of growth that matters to you, your real-world budget, your risk tolerance, and critically, what outcomes are completely unacceptable, something kind of amazing happens. The AI actually stops guessing. It stops exploring everything that's magically possible in a perfect world, and it starts operating inside your real-world instructions to give you practical, executable strategies. Trust me, structure is your real advantage here.
Which brings us to skill 2. Test before you commit, using AI as a decision environment.
Once you can clearly frame a problem, you stop just generating final content and you start testing real-world choices. Picture this. You're in a super tense pricing discussion at a growing company. Normally, right, everyone just argues based on their gut instinct. But in this scenario, instead of endlessly debating, the team fed their revenue data, churn rates, and competitor pricing into the AI to objectively evaluate option A versus option B. The AI actually modeled the revenue impacts and the operational risks for both paths. And suddenly, the whole tone of the room changed. The decision wasn't just based on the loudest voice in the room anymore. It was examined from multiple angles before a single price was ever changed.
And that right there is what it means to treat AI as a decision environment. By asking it to outline trade-offs and actively challenge your weakest assumptions, you're using it to stress test your thinking. You're safely exposing your reasoning to structured pressure, which drastically reduces avoidable mistakes before the real world applies that pressure for you. It's all about intention. Don't ask it to think for you, ask it to test your thinking.
All right, moving to skill 3. Build repeatable AI systems, shifting from random tasks to actual workflows.
We really need to shift away from opening AI randomly just because you feel stuck, and move toward designing repeatable systems. Think about your typical Monday morning. If you have to write a weekly report, why on earth would you start from zero? The deep thinking only needs to be done properly one time. You lock in your audience, the core focus, the length, and the required format. You save that exact structure, and then every single week, you just plug in the fresh data. This guarantees you get consistent, high-quality results completely independent of how motivated or, let's be real, how caffeinated you happen to feel that day.
And the exact same system design applies to much more complex things too, like hiring evaluations. Instead of just casually pasting a resume and asking, hey, what do you think of this person? You build a flow. Step 1, summarize the experience. Step 2, compare it directly to your job requirements. Step 3, generate targeted interview questions based strictly on the gaps. Running every single resume you get through this unbreakable flow makes your hiring decisions significantly clearer and honestly, a whole lot fairer. Now, the secret benefit to all this system building: pattern recognition. The source material for this explainer actually points out that practicing through structured exercises, kind of like the ones you'd find in the Google AI Essentials certificate, helps you start recognizing patterns in your own job. You'll look at your daily grind and suddenly realize, wait a minute, this task follows the exact same pattern every single time. And once you see the pattern, you can automate the structure. Boom. You literally never have to start from a blank page again.
Let's level up to skill 4. Stack your AI tools to create a compounding effect.
Okay, this is where things get incredibly powerful. What most people do is they use one tool to write, a totally different one to make slides, and then they spend hours manually copying and pasting everything back and forth. It's exhausting, right? But instead, you can design a coordinated flow. You start with raw customer data, and the AI structures it into a summary. That summary automatically feeds right into a planning document. The key points from that document then dictate your slide deck format. And finally, the slide content generates your follow-up email. The output of one tool naturally becomes the input of the next.
This quote perfectly captures the shift. AI stops feeling like a collection of tools and starts functioning like infrastructure inside your work. When you stack your tools effectively, you are no longer the manual glue constantly fixing the disconnects between stages. You aren't wasting your day pasting context over and over again. You are simply designing how work moves from a raw idea all the way to execution without any friction. It literally becomes your own personal invisible infrastructure.
And finally, we hit skill 5. Maintain human control by knowing exactly where to draw the line. As your new infrastructure hums along, we hit this final and frankly absolutely crucial skill: actively deciding which parts of your work can be supported by tech and which parts must absolutely stay human. Because yes, an AI can draft an email in 3 seconds, but it does not know the fragile 5-year relationship history you have with that specific client. It can analyze the numbers, sure, but it has no clue how to navigate your company's internal politics. And most importantly, it doesn't feel the real-world consequences of a wrong decision. If you let the AI handle everything without your review, your own deep thinking is going to slowly atrophy. You stop questioning things, and you stop refining your instincts.
The true advantage of mastering AI isn't just about raw speed. It's about control. It's knowing exactly when a conversation needs to build human trust or when a tough decision requires genuine human intuition. Using it strategically means you set the rules. You let the AI do the heavy lifting, but you remain fiercely accountable for the final call. You use it to multiply what you are capable of, not to outsource your brain.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought as you evaluate your own workflows today. Take a hard look at what you did this week. Did your tools replace your deep thinking, or did they multiply your strategic ability? Mastering these 5 skills, defining the problem, testing decisions, building systems, stacking tools, and keeping human control guarantees it's the latter. Start building your infrastructure today, and I promise you, you're going to be the one leading the pack. Thanks so much for joining me on The Explainer.